So first and foremost on this video, I want to give a huge shout out to Fumoto for helping sponsor the channel and this build by sending this awesome oil drain valve that we are going to install today. Basically, it's going to be kind of a straightforward oil change, but I really want to feature Fumoto and show how their product works. It's a really cool idea, and a lot of people swear by it, and I'm looking forward to installing it. It's basically going to be a ball valve style drain plug that will allow you to not have to remove a drain bolt every time to change your oil. You just move this little lever and it will drain out. So should be really neat, and yeah, we'll get to it. Also, spend a little bit extra money and get a Mobil 1 filter, get a Bosch filter, get a quality filter, especially for this being a track-built car, or a track-purposed car, I should say. I wanted to run something that would filter the oil very well. I'm not scared of running a Toyota filter. I would love to have done that too, but I figured since this car has sat for a while, I would like to have a filter that maybe is a little bit above OEM on filtering. So the only other option that I had to get filter-wise was a TRD filter. However, there is only one available near me, and they are discontinued everywhere else. So I'll probably grab that one. It's like $15 for an oil filter, which this one here was about the same money. But I would like to have a TRD filter just to have it. It's kind of neat. And as far as oil goes, this is just a synthetic blend. I don't run full synthetic because it costs more money. Chances are the car will use a little bit at higher RPMs. It's a machine. It's going to use oil. All cars do. It doesn't matter if it's new or used. And in my opinion, why spend more money on a product that's going to burn regardless, and then I have to replace it with a more expensive oil every single time? So that is my 2 cents on what you should do if you're doing an oil change, especially on a Yaris or a track-purposed car. So we'll get to it. We'll get this thing up in the air. Should be pretty simple and straightforward, and go from there. Something I did pick up from the junkyard the other day was a new dipstick. This one here on the 07s and 08s, from what I know, are plastic. The 09s and ups actually are plastic at the top, but then have a metal stick, so that's good. And we'll take our oil cap off. I went ahead and vacuumed all up in here as well. Sucked all the dead leaves and everything out, since we're going to be working on our motor. After this one, after we do the Fumoto valve, I'll be doing the ECU video, and then after the ECU video, we will be doing all the intake side of the motor, as far as the intake manifold, porting it, new injectors, intake manifold spacer, all of that stuff, cold air intake. So everything across the front of the motor, basically, we'll have all of this all pulled off going forward. So I wanted to make sure that everything was good and clean, that we didn't have any leaves or debris that would get down in the motor while we had everything pulled apart. So now that we've got our oil cap and our dipstick off and out of the way, we'll go ahead and put the car up in the air and get the oil drained. Control arms have some crust on them. We may end up replacing them. I don't know. I really like that rust there. But we'll see. I'll pull you up here. Cradle's got a little bit of scale on it. We'll probably go ahead and, while we've got it in the air, go ahead and scuff that. We'll hit it with some rust preventative stuff, just so we don't have to deal with that as much going forward, and hope that it doesn't spread. The rest of the car is pretty clean underneath. There's a little bit of scale under here, but nothing you shouldn't expect for a car of this age. Some rust back here, but again, nothing too crazy. Rear rails all look good. My muffler fell off about 2 years ago when I was headed home, and all of a sudden everything got a lot louder. So I just kind of left it like that and figured it wasn't going to matter because we would be replacing it anyway. So yeah, go ahead and let this finish draining. Alright guys, we have let this oil drain for about 15 or 20 minutes now, to where it's just kind of a slow drip coming out of the pan. The oil filter is off as well. I've let it drain. My main goal with this was just to get as many contaminants out as possible, get as much old oil out as possible, because obviously this hasn't been changed in a couple years, and I would like clean, fresh oil to be in the motor again. So I've looked around the motor, don't see any major leaks. Pan gasket might be seeping a little bit, but nothing too crazy. We may end up, like I said in the video, or in the clip just before, might end up doing lower control arms if these don't clean up some. I'll have my suspension guy look at it when we get to the coilover section of our build. Yes, I'm probably not going to install the coilovers myself. I have a dedicated suspension guy that we take a lot of our stuff to, probably the best in our area. So I figure, you know, obviously I can handle putting them in. However, I have to take it down to him anyway to get an alignment done, and he's able to dial everything in right on their alignment machine, install the coilovers, and it's one less thing that I have to do. So it works out twofold. Yeah, but other than that, we will go ahead and get our oil filter put on. I'm gonna fill it halfway up, or as full as what I can get it. Clean the gasket part, or where the gasket mounts up to the motor. Clean that real good. Get the oil filter put on. Then we'll do the Fumoto valve here in just a minute, and I'll put it at a better angle to where you can actually see me installing that. Alright guys, this should be really straightforward and simple. The Fumoto valve basically just replaces the drain bolt. I'm going to go ahead and grab it, and we'll pop place the O-ring that's on the typical drain plug. They've got like a felt gasket that will take its place. So we'll go ahead and pop this on. I'm going to clean that off real quick, tighten this on, and then pop our safety clip on to make sure that it doesn't no road debris kicks up or anything like that, and opens the valve up. So it's not gonna stop coming out right now, so we would be waiting a long time. So let's see, yeah, you can see that good. So see, and the valve is open currently, so we can actually close it to where we don't have that oil coming out somehow. Well, let's go ahead and put it on, ain't no big deal, and then we'll worry about closing that valve here in a second. Alright, so I like that position of that, because the little lever is on its way up, and yep, there we go. Now it is closed. I really like that so far. We've got to tighten that down just a hair. Just use like an adjustable wrench. From what I've seen online, I think you just tighten this down about 1/8 of a turn. Don't want to overdo it. Might have been a little over 1/8, but it's good and tight on there. So the cool thing with this, I know I just had closed the valve up, but when you go to open it here, I'm gonna move that back. So when you go to open this, I'll bring the camera up here where you can see this a little bit better. You simply bring this forward, this little lever, bring the lever forward, and then just like that, and then you'll be able to drain your oil right there. So obviously not a lot's going to come out of it at the moment, just because there is nothing really left in the oil pan, which is great. Once we get oil put back in, what this can really be useful for is obviously quick oil changes, and then also, say if you need to grab a sample of your oil to send out for testing to make sure there's not too many contaminants in it, or if you're trying to check to make sure that you don't have, you know, bearings starting to fail. BMW does this a lot on their V8 motors. On like the M3 and M5, you can have your oil samples sent out, and this is perfect for that, because when you're done, you wipe that off, you're good to go. You can take a small sample, open your valve up, boom, let the oil flow out, fill your little container, close it back, and you're good to go. And then also, something that Fumoto has is this little clip, and this just pops on. There's a notch on one side and it's open on the other, so the notch will pop around our lever. So there it is. There's no way that that can open. Not only is this notched up here to where this lever physically has to be pushed up and then turned to open, but when it's locked back, so it's notched, you can't just pull on the lever. And then when you put this clip on, it further locks the lever to where even if it was pushed up and pulled, you can't get it to come out unless you take that clip off. So the chances of failure on, you know, on the track, on the road, or on anything like that, I'm going to say are very, very slim. It's a really well designed product, and again, they were gracious enough to send this one to me for free, and that's a huge help with our build. So if you guys can, you know, support them because they supported me, I would greatly appreciate it. I can tell you, I will be putting these on some of my personal vehicles. They're very reasonably priced, and it should just make oil changes that much easier, that much cleaner, to where you're not, you know, having to take. It's nothing worse than when you take the oil drain plug out, like what I did before, and then your hand gets covered in oil. It sucks. So you don't have to replace your washer every single time either, so that's another added perk. Those aren't expensive, but again, not getting oil all over your hands every single time you change oil, definite perk for me. Now, you can still get it on your hands with the oil filter, but like I said, in this sense, if we're going to do any you know, oil samples or anything like that, it will be really beneficial, and just that way I can quick and easy open, close it. And the other good thing is too, if you ever overfill your car with oil, you can simply just open this ball valve, take a little bit out, put it right back in your oil container, since it's fresh oil, and you're not wasting it. You're not having to try to put the oil plug back in with the, you know, with all the oil pouring out of the pan. Ask me how I know. I've done that a time or two. So yeah, this is just an awesome product. I know I'm probably plugging it really long, and this probably seems like a big long advertisement. It isn't. It's just, I really cannot say how much I do appreciate them sending this to me for free, and, you know, taking a chance with our channel and just letting me try to promote their product some. So anyway, that's going to be the end of my promotion. We'll finish this oil change up real quick, drop the car down, dump some oil in it, start it up, check the level, all that stuff. So anyway, let's put her on the ground. Alright guys, let's fire her up. We're gonna watch and make sure that our oil pressure light goes off. So our oil pressure light is right up there next to our check engine light. Yep, went off immediately. That's perfect. Alright, so now we'll just double check our oil. And then one other thing we'll do while we're here, we're going to switch out our oil dipstick. Like I said earlier in the video, I have one that's metal. I definitely want to compare the length of both the sticks. They should be identical. And our oil is just about spot on. Actually, it's literally, I don't think I could get it more spot on if I tried. I don't know if it'll show up or not, but it is right at the mark where it needs to be. So, like I said before, if it was overfilled, it's not the end of the world. You got the Fumoto valve now. So this car's not going to be going anywhere for the next, I don't know, couple days at least. So typically I'd put the car back up in the air, you know, let it run, open the garage door obviously, let it run for a few minutes, make sure that the oil isn't leaking around the new gasket on the Fumoto valve, or also on the oil filter, make sure we don't have any type of sealing issue or anything like that. But in this case, like I said, it's going to be sitting here for the next probably day or so, and if I see any oil on the ground, then obviously I'll know that there's a leak. So I don't anticipate it leaking, but if we see something, we'll address it then. I'm going to grab that other dipstick and we'll switch it out real quick. Okay, so here's our new dipstick, and I'll just compare it to our old one. Length is actually just a hair longer. Well, I say that, let's see here. Yeah, it's just a hair longer than the other one. So let's compare if we put this one in. Don't anticipate it having any issues. Yeah, it goes in fine. But yeah, and it actually shows right on spot where it needed to be. So we're gonna go with this one, even though it's just a tad bit longer, because these plastic ones, they can get brittle over time. I haven't ever seen one break, but I know they do get brittle, and it's plastic. I've seen some of the Honda ones actually get very brittle and break inside the motor, and then that's not good. You don't want plastic floating around a motor. But oil and plastic typically don't mix. That being said, this is the end of the video. Next video will be swapping out the ECU, which is right back in there. We'll swap that out. Do some 0 to 60 times first, though, with this on the stock ECU. Then we'll do 0 to 60 times with the new ECU, see if there's any improvement. I know that the RPMs it'll rev a little bit higher. Should see some performance gains. And yeah, if I remember right, I think in the emails going back and forth with FTG Tuning, they were saying it's around a 10 horsepower gain. Obviously, you can reach out to them, talk to them, see if it's the right application for your car. There are only certain models that they are able to do the ECU tuning on for Yaris's, because they're a little bit different. You want to try to get an 07 or 08 Yaris if you're going to be building one. Not to say you can't build newer ones, they're just not as tunable, from what I understand from them. So anyway, huge shout out and thank you to Fumoto for the oil drain valve, and then FTG Tuning. I really appreciate them helping out with the build as well. Please, buy from them. That's, they are supporting this channel. You'll hear me say that a million times probably through this whole video series. I'm sorry if it's redundant, But I am very, very grateful for people kind of taking a chance on a small channel like ours and, you know, saying, hey, we'll, you know, FTG discounted the cost of the ECU tune for me, and Fumoto sent me one for free. So I just am very grateful. I like doing business and recommending businesses that have done business or have, you know, helped us in some way, shape, or form. Guys at FTG did not have to help me, but they were more than gracious to. And people at Fumoto didn't have to help me, but they were more than gracious to as well. So again, thank you. Please support them. And if you like this video series, please put down in the comments down below. I'd really like to hear what you guys think. Intake build should be really interesting. I'm going to try to do a lot of different angles and being able to show as much as I can with the intake getting pulled, and then also basically putting everything together so that we can, you know, have a more of a performance style intake on this motor. But anyway, running a little bit long, so thank you so much. Please like and subscribe, and if you can share it to anybody else, you know, that might be interested in this build, I would certainly appreciate it. As always, likes and subscribes mean the world to me, and again, please support our sponsors because they support us. Thanks so much, and have a great day.